All right, everyone, please be seated. Oh, you may be seated.
Okay, we approach her.
Yes. All right, state, you may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, true bill of indictment in the name by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Bexar County State of Texas duly organized and impaneled and sworn on such at the September term AD 2023 of the 290th District Court of said county and said court. At said term, do present in and to said court that in the county and state aforesaid and anterior to the presentment of this indictment, on or about the 25th day of January 2022, Samuel Allen Bach did recklessly cause the death of an individual, namely Carlos Dominguez, hereinafter referred to as the complainant, by driving and operating a motor vehicle at a speed that was not reasonable and prudent under the circumstances then existing, and or failing to apply the brakes in a timely and reasonable manner, in which acts and omissions caused the defendant's vehicle to collide with the vehicle occupied by the complainant, against the peace and dignity of the state, signed foreman of the grand jury.
How do you plead? All right, thank you. You may be seated. State, do you have opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
US Highway 181 is what some would refer to as God's country, okay? It starts at or near downtown and leads almost all the way to Calaveras Lake. And so when you take this drive, the sun is beating down on the highway. It's a wide open highway that leads to Calaveras Lake. Now, there's lots of hardworking people that decide to settle in that southern area of Bexar County, Texas. And one of those people was Carlos Dominguez. He was an 87-year-old retired Air Force veteran. Another one of those people that lived out in this area is John and Stephanie Bach, and who also lived with them was their grandchild, the defendant that sits before you, Samuel Bach. Now, traveling down 181 towards Calaveras Lake, you'll come up on a landmark bridge, and it's called the CPS Bridge. And the speed limit out there is 65 miles per hour. And so on January 25th of 2022, there were many people that were traveling down US Highway 181 going towards Calaveras Lake. One of those people is Melissa Cox, and the other is Frank Garcia. Now, both had similar experiences, and I anticipate that they will testify in this case and let you know the similar observations that they made. And that would be they observed a silver Cadillac driving down US Highway 181 at a high rate of speed. Now, they couldn't see who was driving the silver Cadillac at that time. However, this silver Cadillac passed both of them up in their own motor vehicles. As they continue down Highway 181, hoping that nothing happens involving this silver Cadillac, they happen upon a catastrophic crash scene. Now, they didn't observe the accident, but there is a person that did. That person's name is Kurt Fuller, and he observed the crash. You'll hear testimony from him that he was working at an automotive business and he was outside, and he just so happened to turn his back to catch the crash. And he's going to explain to you his observations that he made. That silver Cadillac T-boning the black Chevy SUV that was occupied by Carlos Dominguez. And by this time, Melissa and Frank are happening upon the scene, and they immediately recognize that this is the same silver Cadillac that passed them less than half a mile away at a high rate of speed. And so they get off, they attempt to make contact with Mr. Carlos Dominguez. He's in that driver's seat of that black Chevy SUV, and he is displaying no signs of life. Now, Bexar County Sheriff's Office responds to the scene. You're going to hear from Deputy Garcia. He's going to tell you about the witnesses that he spoke to and the scope of his duties on scene. You are also going to hear from Sergeant Trace Shannon. He is the person that made the scene. He identified some roadway evidence and documented evidence on scene. You're also going to hear from Investigator Calendar. Now, he will tell you, in cases such as this, there is some evidence that can't be collected there at the crime scene, okay? There's additional investigation that needs to go into a crime such as this. And so he lets the defendant go from the scene on that day. He makes an appointment with John and Stephanie Bach to download something that is contained within that silver Cadillac. It's called the airbag control module. The airbag control module will give you up to 5 seconds of data regarding speed, whether the brakes were applied, and the speed that the vehicle was going in 5-second increments, okay? And so Investigator Calendar and Investigator Shannon make this appointment. They obtain that data, and what they find is that 5 seconds prior to this crash, that defendant over there was driving 104 miles per hour. That is 39 miles per hour above the speed limit on that stretch of road. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear from Dr. Trang. She is a medical examiner who is formerly employed with the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office. And she's going to testify to the catastrophic injuries that Carlos Dominguez sustained. Heart completely ripped in half. Lungs pulverized. Pelvic bone shattered. Ribs shattered. I submit to you that was all caused by the sheer speed and impact caused by the defendant. And I am confident that at the close of this case, when you've received all the evidence, you will find him guilty as charged. Thank you.
Defense, any opening? You may proceed.
All right, good afternoon. So on January 22nd, 2022, Carlos Dominguez was 87 years old, and he's in a parking lot of a Mexican food restaurant that's on the side of Highway 181. And he has been diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease, and he has refused treatment. There is video of the crash, and you will see that his driving facts are that he's pulling through the parking lot or rolling at the parking lot. And if Highway 181 is here, he's going at an angle in which he cannot clearly see anything that's coming up from behind him. And not only is he going at an angle, he doesn't step on his brakes that can be seen. He doesn't use a turn signal. He never comes to a 90-degree. This particular parking lot is a problem because it is just, there is no barrier to keep you from driving across it to cross, there's a highway to 181 is 2-lane traffic going in either directions. And then you can take crossovers, right, to get to the other side. But it's a divided by land in between, right? So this particular parking lot is a problem because there's a long stretch of parking lot that abuts Highway 181 that doesn't prevent anyone from going into it. And so that's problem number one with this like situation and set of circumstances. But the second problem is the fact that Carlos Dominguez never once looks for if anyone's coming. And you'll see in the video that there is an 18-wheeler that is going, that zooms past. And as soon as the 18-wheeler clears him, he just darts across. He never looks to see if there's anyone else behind the 18-wheeler. Now, this is a tragedy. Someone did pass away. They did not pass away because of the acts of Samuel. What happened that day was that, as you will find out later, medical records will indicate that that he was on or taking, had just the day before seen his medical provider, and that he was taking muscle relaxants as well as Benadryl over-the-counter prescriptions and stuff that could have impaired him. So we're going to bring you testimony. We anticipate you're going to see that. You're also going to see that his zipper was down, and that because of the driving pattern, we believe that the evidence will show that either he was passed out or potentially was trying to commit suicide because of the situation that he is in. Because no reasonable person would have driven the way he did under that fact pattern and put himself in the middle of a heavily traveled, fast-moving lane of traffic. Now, the driving facts of Samuel, yes, he was going fast, but he was in, if you look at two lanes like going the same direction, he was in the lane furthest away from where Mr. Dominguez would have entered. And he immediately, upon him entering the highway, puts on his brakes. Now, the evidence is going to show a conflict, I anticipate, with their expert and our expert. You're going to hear from two different experts that are going to talk to you about whether or not Samuel could have caused this accident, like was the cause of the accident. And so we're going to break that down for you with the evidence that we have. And what you're going to see is there's some flaws in the state's expert testimony. And one of the things is that they're going to design all of the numbers they give you on the presumption that it's a 5-second back. But what happens is that Carlos Dominguez doesn't enter the highway until we're 2 seconds in, 2 seconds away from the crash. So the difference between doing calculations that start at 5 seconds back versus 2 seconds back from the crash makes a huge difference, because when, or if you assume that anybody was driving the speed limit or even slightly over the speed limit, and you do the calculations at 2 seconds back when he enters the highway, there would have been no way to ever avoid this crash. So Carlos Dominguez didn't look, and there is a law that you'll hear about, and it is the Texas transportation vehicle entering the highway from a private road or driveway. And it's the right-of-way law, right? It says anyone entering the highway shall give right-of-way to the people on the highway. So it's a shall, and he broke that law. And so you're going to see that that is really what this case all comes down to, is the fact that Carlos Dominguez put anybody who would have been in that highway at that point, regardless of what speed they were going, would have put them in danger and possibly killed them. The only reason my client is probably sitting here today.
I'm gonna object as to argumentative.
Oh,
Sustain.
The evidence
Oh.
would show.
Okay, so I've talked to you about the experts that you're going to hear from the accident reconstruction from the state side and from the defense side. But we're also going to anticipate you hearing from the person who did the autopsy. And you're going to find out that the autopsy doesn't test for everything. And they never requested the medical records to find out what systemic issues or other problems that Carlos Dominguez had been suffering before they make all of their analysis of the case. Which is problematic because it goes to whether or not he was impaired at the time of the accident. So at the end of this, I feel confident that you will return a verdict of not guilty in this case, because it was the acts of Carlos Dominguez, his own acts, that resulted in his fatal tragedy. And to that we are greatly, saddened, but it was unavoidable, and sometimes tragedies, they do happen. But that does not make them a crime. Thank you.
All right, state, you may call your first witness.
The state calls Kurt Fuller.
All right, if you can raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand. Make sure you keep your voice up so that everyone can hear. If you'll state your name for the record.
My name's Kurt Fuller.
All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Fuller, how old are you currently?
38,
And what county do you currently live in?
Bear County.
How long have you lived in Bear County, Texas?
Quite a few years, since about 2008.
Since 2008?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to please speak into the microphone because I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
My apologies.
No, thank you. And so what do you do for employment purposes?
As of right now, I work for a security company.
Okay. And previously, how have you been employed?
I used to do incident management wrecker service.
Is that in the towing industry?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I want to talk to you about January 25th of 2022. Do you recall what you were doing that day?
Yes, ma'am. I was actually at one of the offices that I worked out of,
Okay. And do you recall where that office was located?
off of Highway 181 at a business called Abdanabi Hybrid Battery Repair.
Okay. Is that located in Bear County, Texas?
Yes, ma'am. It's right there on the edge.
Okay. And is there something like a landmark across from Abdanabi's?
There's a couple. One of them is a little Mexican restaurant, and the other is like this title place.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 1. Can you take a look at that for me?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you familiar with the location of US Highway 181?
Yes, ma'am. Very well.
Okay, and does that appear to be a fair and accurate depiction of a portion of US Highway 181?
Absolutely.
This time the state offers State's Exhibit number 1 and tenders the same to defense.
No objection.
All right, state's exhibit number 1 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Granted.
Okay, Mr. Fuller, can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you see the location that you previously testified to, Abdanabi's?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and where's that located?
Right here on the right-hand side of your guys' view is this sign. Yes, ma'am. That right there.
Okay. And the little Mexican restaurant that you were referring to, where's that located?
Far corner over here. Yes, ma'am. Right there.
Okay. And so what were you doing there at Abdanabi's on that day?
I was doing mechanical work, assisting with repair on one of the Prius vehicles out there.
Okay. And do you recall about whereabouts you were standing?
To the left-hand side of that sign that you were pointing at the first time? Yes, ma'am.
So in this area right here? Right here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so can you please describe your positioning to the jury while you were working on this motor vehicle?
At that point in time, I was facing towards the business. US Highway 181 was directly behind me.
Okay. At some time, did you change your positioning?
Occasionally I did, yes, ma'am, because all my tools and parts that I needed were stuck directly behind me along the fence line facing towards 181.
Okay. And then at some point, did you turn to look toward US Highway 181?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there something that you observed or caught your attention when you were looking at Highway 181?
I observed a pretty serious T-bone crash coming towards I call it 410, but it's going down 181. I'm bad with north and southwest directions, stuff like that. But going towards, I watched a T-bone situation happen with two vehicles colliding.
Okay. So do you recall what type of vehicles were involved in the crash?
One of them I know was a silver Cadillac.
Okay.
The other one, I can't remember if it was a Buick or a Chevy,
Okay.
but it was black in color.
It was black in color?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now regarding that silver Cadillac, let me rephrase. On state exhibit number 1, on which side were the motor vehicles traveling on?
On
this
the
side or
side
this
closest
side?
to that Mexican restaurant, that side over there.
Okay, this side right here.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, right here. And the silver Cadillac that you observed, was it traveling toward you or away from you?
Traveling towards me.
Okay, and what did you observe the black Chevy
The
do?
black Chevy was pulling out of either the street right next to the Mexican restaurant or out of the Mexican restaurant's driveway, like parking lot area.
Okay,
He was pulling out, coming across 181 to go drive as if he was driving away from me.
okay. And so you said you observed the crash. Do you recall where the crash occurred at?
The crash originally occurred at right there in between the two highways where they split together.
Okay,
Excuse me, if you need to step down because that screen doesn't work for you to touch.
Oh,
right
no, I
now.
wasn't trying to touch. I was just pointing. Sorry.
No, it's just so that the jury can see what you're pointing at. So if you want to step down to the screen there and you can point at. And defense, if you need to move about, feel free to move about the courtroom.
you can come this way. And if you could just use this pen and point out to the jury where you believe the crash occurred.
Crash occurred approximately in this area right here.
Okay. All right, thank you. You can go have a seat on the witness stand. And when the crash occurred, did you hear anything or observe anything involving the cars?
A lot of white smoke and loud squealing of tires.
Okay. And do you know which vehicle that was coming from, or?
The white Cadillac or
Okay.
silver Cadillac, sorry.
Thank you. Now, after you observed the crash, then what did you do?
I immediately put down all my tools that I was using and started making my way over towards the incident.
And then when you made your way toward the incident, were you able to observe the vehicles at a closer view?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to observe any damage to either vehicle?
Yes, ma'am. The black car had significant damage to the driver's side of the vehicle between the two pillars of the driver's door and the rear door driver's side.
Okay.
And the silver Cadillac had significant front end damage.
Okay. Did you make contact with the driver of the silver
No, ma'am,
Cadillac?
because the gentleman in the silver Cadillac was out walking around. The only person that was not moving was the person in the black vehicle.
Okay. Did you approach the person in the black motor vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you observe?
Gentleman struggling to breathe, slouched over towards the center console of inside the vehicle.
And did you attempt to communicate with this individual?
I was asking the individual if he was okay. At this point is when I realized that he was taking his final breaths and no longer in response.
Okay. And so after that, did you observe any signs of life from that individual?
No, ma'am. no responsive, no movements, no nothing.
Okay. And then after that, what happened?
At that point, I tried to shut off the alarm system to the vehicle, the black car, because the car horn was going off continuously. At that point, not SAPD, Bear County Sheriff's Department and the ambulance and fire department started showing up on location as well.
And when you were observing these events unfold, what was going through your mind?
A lot of reminders of situations I've been witness to.
Relevance.
Sustained.
Did you make contact with any Bear County Sheriff's deputies on scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and did you provide an initial statement to them?
Absolutely. I
And then
provided
you-
them with a written statement.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm gonna show you State's Exhibit number 2. If you can just take a look at this for me.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize what this is?
Yes, ma'am. That is a disc with surveillance from the restaurant.
Okay, and have you previously viewed State's Exhibit number 2 and its content?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and was it a fair and accurate depiction of the events as you observed them?
Absolutely.
Okay, and has it been altered in any way except to comply with legal rules to your knowledge?
No, ma'am.
And you're able to recognize it. Did you make an identifying mark on
Yes,
it?
ma'am. I put my initials on it.
At this time, the state offers State's Exhibit number 2 and tenders the same to defense for inspection.
So. Your Honor, I'm gonna object, because one, can I take on board item?
Sure.
So, you said in State's Exhibit 2 that you reviewed this and it shows what you saw,
Yes, ma'am.
correct? Now, would you agree with me though, that when you look where you were at that sign and you look toward the restaurant, you can't see what the black car was doing before the accident, correct?
You could, yes, ma'am. Because that sign from the area that the businesses I was working at and that restaurant area, it's you, if you were looking at it, it would be like as if I was that business and that clock was that restaurant.
How much distance is it from that sign to that?
Not very good with measurement of distance. I apologize.
Would you agree with me that immediately prior to the accident, there was an 18-wheeler that passed in front of the car?
There's a lot of 18-wheelers that go through that area.
You don't know if there was you personally did not observe whether there was an 18-wheeler.
It's hard to say. There's a lot.
You didn't observe the accident. You testified earlier that you were facing toward your business. And would you agree with me that your statement is you hear the crash and then you look?
I was actually at that point turned around facing towards the Mexican restaurant because I was, like I stated earlier, my tools and my parts and everything I laid on the ground directly behind me.
And I understand, but what brought your attention to the vehicles was the sound of the hitting, correct?
Correct, which was right there before the vehicles collided together. I heard the initial start of the squealing of the tires.
So, if this video contains acts before that, it wouldn't have been something that you could have observed because you wouldn't know if it's accurate or not because you couldn't see before the impact. You weren't looking at the cars before the impact.
I'm gonna object. That's been asked and answered. He stated it was his personal observation and that he observed the crash, so.
All right, that'll be sustained.
Your Honor, I don't think he has personal knowledge of before the crash, and as he testified, this is longer than that.
All right, the objection is overruled. State's Exhibit number 2 is admitted.
Yeah. And Mr. Fuller, are you able to observe the state's exhibit while you're up on the stand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I would ask you, if you view yourself come on screen, if you would just point yourself out to the jury, please.
You can see me running across right now. Right there where your mouse is.
Okay, and so state's exhibit number 2, is that how you observed the crash occur?
Yes, ma'am.
We pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, defense. All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Excused by the state, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down if you'll leave the microphone behind.
Thank you.
All right, can I have party support?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
All right, state, call your next witness.
The state calls Deputy Garcia.
All right, could you raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you may have a seat. Just make sure you keep your voice up so that everybody can hear. If you could state your name for the record.
Deputy Joseph Z. Garcia.
All right, state, you may proceed.
Deputy Garcia, how are you currently employed?
Currently, I'm employed with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office as a canine handler. I've been with the Sheriff's Office 12 and a half years. I did about 6 years in the jail. Transferred to the Law Enforcement Bureau in 2018. I did about 3 years on patrol, and then put in for the Special Operations Canine Unit, which is where I'm currently working.
Thank you. Are you a certified peace officer in the state of Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you just explain to the jury the training you underwent to become a law enforcement officer with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office?
Absolutely. So for the detention part, I attended a 10-week course, and then prior to working inside the detention center, once I transferred to the Law Enforcement Bureau in 2018, I did 18 weeks of a patrol academy where we went over sheriff's policy, state laws, federal laws that we have to follow, as well as standard operating procedures for several critical incidents. Following the patrol academy, we went through 15 weeks of field training where I rode with a senior officer who guided me through various scenes and different calls to get experience. After successfully completing that program, that's when I went on and was on my own and began patrolling the streets of Bexar County by myself.
Okay. And were you employed as a patrol deputy with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office on January 25th of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall what shift you were working that day?
I was working second shift that day.
And how long does that shift run?
8 hours. So that shift was from either 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Okay. And what would your duties be as a patrol officer or patrol deputy with the sheriff's office?
Responding to any type of 911 calls, calls for service regarding crashes or family disputes, civil issues, anything like that, anything that may arise, along with patrolling, doing traffic stops, that type of stuff.
Okay. And on this day, were you in a uniform in a marked patrol vehicle?
Yes,
Okay. And so on January 25th, 2022, at approximately 3:26 p.m., were you on patrol?
yes,
And do you recall being dispatched to 12540 US Highway 181 South, San Antonio, Texas, Bexar County 78223?
yes, I do.
Okay. And can you describe to the jury what type of location you responded to?
So that's going to be a highway, pretty much. Highway 181 is one of the main thoroughfares that connects San Antonio to Floresville and Wilson County. It's a very busy roadway. We have lots of crashes on that roadway. It's not unheard of to catch vehicles doing in excess of 90, 100 miles an hour sometimes. So we did a lot of speed enforcement on that roadway, along with Elmendorf, which is the small department that's between San Antonio and Floresville.
Okay. And so that location that I previously gave the address to, is that located in Bexar County, Texas?
Yes,
And that highway, a substantial portion of the public has access to it. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. And did you generate a report at the time that you responded to the call or soon after?
I did a supplement report for that
Okay.
incident.
Is there a Bexar County Sheriff's Office case number that's assigned to the call that you responded to?
Yes, there was.
Do you recall what that case number is?
I do not recall.
Okay, would it help you refresh your memory if you were able to view a copy of that supplemental report that you
Yes.
generated?
Super.
So I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes only as State's Exhibit A. Can you please take a look at that for me?
As far as being my report, yes.
Okay, does that appear to be a fair and accurate copy of the report, supplemental report that you generated at or near the time of the offense?
Yes,
Okay, and would it help you refresh your memory if you were able to look at it?
yes.
Okay, so you can look at it, just don't read from it, but can you please let the jury know what is the Bexar County Sheriff's Office case number assigned to that crash that you responded to?
The Bexar County case number that's associated with this crash was a 2022 BCSO.
Excuse me, if you can slow it down for the court
Oh,
reporter.
sorry.
Thank you.
2022 BCSO 001585.
And can you just describe to the jury the scene that you encountered upon arrival?
It was definitely a chaotic scene. By the time I had arrived, there was one other law enforcement agency that was there, helping to divert traffic. Fire and medical were already on scene. And they had probably been on scene for a couple minutes prior to my arrival, because I believe I was coming from a pretty far distance away. Upon my arrival, there was a vehicle. One vehicle that was involved was in the center median of this highway. And the other one, I believe, was still on the northbound lanes of 181. As I exited my vehicle, one of the fire personnel walked up to me. We made contact. I asked him, what type of injuries he had or what was going on. At that point, he advised me that the male that was in the black SUV was deceased and was entrapped inside the vehicle. At that point, I notified dispatch that I had a fatality crash and that I needed additional resources, including our traffic safety unit and our traffic homicide unit.
And were you equipped with a body worn camera on this day?
I was.
Okay, and I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 3. If you can just take a look at this for me. Do you recognize this?
Yes,
Have you previously viewed the contents of this disc?
I have.
And what is it on the disc?
It's going to be my body worn camera from the time that I was dispatched the call until I cleared the call. for roughly like a 2-hour video.
Okay,
And
you viewed the contents of it?
yes,
Did it appear to be a fair and accurate depiction of the location and the events that occurred on the offense date?
absolutely.
And other than to comply with legal rules, has it been altered to your knowledge in any way?
No.
At this time, the state offers state's exhibit number 3 and offers the same to defense for inspection.
No objection.
All right, state's exhibit number 3 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Granted.
And just regarding the deceased person, do you know the name of the deceased person?
I'd have to reference my report.
If you could please do so.
Okay.
And what was that name of the deceased individual?
Carlos Dominguez.
And were you able to observe the vehicles that were involved in the crash on scene that you previously testified to?
I remember where the black SUV was. It was as far as being in the center median. I don't remember the exact direction that it was facing or anything like that.
And so just for the record, I'm going to fast forward to 7 minutes and 47 seconds. And can you just describe to the jury what we're viewing currently?
So I pulled up that other police car that was behind mine was the Elmendorf police car. These are all the fire units. Oh, sorry, there's a glare here. All the fire units that are working on the injured. That black SUV is the one that the deceased was in. That's the firefighter that informed me that the male was entrapped. They were trying to get him out, and that he had passed. The other vehicle was the silver Cadillac right here, gray silver, and he was being evaluated by medical personnel.
Okay.
That was the Elmendorf officer that showed up first, and at that point, our job went from trying to my immediate concern at that point was, okay, well, now that we know that this is fatality, now we need to shut down this entire highway because we need to preserve evidence. And we also need to figure out how to divert this major highway traffic away from here. So that way, because we got people, as you can see, there's people just cutting through the grass around the scene. And that's not safe for anybody at that point.
Okay. And so I'm gonna pause state's exhibit number 3. Did you identify any possible witnesses while you were on scene?
Yes.
Okay, do you recall who those people were?
I believe one of them was named, I'm referencing my report, of course. Melissa Cox was one of them. Kurt Fuller was one. And Frank Garcia.
Okay, thank you. And did you take preliminary statements from these individuals?
I did.
Okay, and did you also provide them a form to fill out a written statement? Is that correct?
Yes, I gave them a witness statement form. I advised them to fill it out, and then in exchange for that, I held on to their ID to make sure that they didn't leave the scene until that statement was provided to me.
Okay. And so I'm going to fast forward state's exhibit number 3 to 10 minutes and 30 seconds or 25 seconds. And so is that one of the witnesses that you spoke with?
Yes. That was Miss Cox.
And I'm gonna fast forward to 14 minutes, 12 seconds. are you currently speaking to another witness right there?
Yes. Usually at crash scenes, there's a lot of people that'll huddle around. So I'll go up to them and ask them individually, like, did you see something or did you just show up after the fact? If they saw something, that's when I'm like, okay, you're a witness. I need you to stay here. Let me go get a form and I need your ID
Okay.
to make sure you didn't leave.
Okay, and is that another witness that you spoke
Yes,
with?
ma'am.
All right, now, other than providing traffic control and taking those preliminary witness statements, did you contact a certain unit to come make the scene?
Yes, so once, as soon as the firefighter at the beginning of the video advised me that it was a fatality crash, I advised dispatch and advised that I needed our traffic safety unit, which is, they have all that additional training to take measurements and all that type of stuff. And I believe according, as well with them was our traffic homicide unit, which is the investigator part of that unit.
Okay, and so other than providing the traffic control and then taking those preliminary witness statements and then contacting the traffic unit, did you do anything notable on scene other than those things?
Just coordinate the shutting down of the highway. Again, that's a very busy highway. I've had numerous crashes on that highway, and once I got there, I knew we had to shut it down. All those additional units that started showing up, I was like, hey, we need to figure out how to divert this traffic. So a lot of the additional units that showed up were going to be used for traffic control. The traffic units, once they showed up, they're the ones that took over the immediate scene, and patrol kind of backs off and took over the perimeter area.
Okay, and then was that the scope of your duties on scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we passed the witness, Your Honor.
All right, defense?
Yeah, so a few follow-ups. First off, you agree with me that Samuel was not arrested at the scene, correct?
Correct. I did not arrest him.
And in regards to, the state has admitted State Exhibit 2, which is a video of the actual crash. Have you viewed that?
No.
Okay. Do you know how that came into the state's possession?
No.
So you didn't go obtain that video footage?
I did not.
I've had witness.
No further questions and excused by state, Your Honor.
All right, excused?
Yes.
All right, thank you. If you'll leave the microphone behind?
State exhibit as well.
Yes, if you'll leave that with the court reporter, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our break for today. So I'm going to give you some instructions with regards to this case. You are not allowed to view anything about this case. You are not allowed to Google names about this case. You're not allowed to do any investigation whatsoever about this case. Does everyone understand? Everything that you need to know is to come from inside this courtroom and nowhere else. Do not think about this case unless you're in this courtroom listening to witnesses and viewing evidence. Does everyone understand? All right, we can go off the record.